Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining today's Marketplace Office Hour for Partners. I'm Justin Royal. I am the Marketplace Community Manager and have been doing these monthly office hours as a chance for Marketplace partners and customers just to connect with our both internal and external Marketplace team members to learn more about common topics related to the Marketplace. If you're not a member of the Marketplace community already, definitely come visit and have access to this session after the show ends today, as well as our library of other office hours and on-demand resources for your Marketplace success. This will be recorded and available after today's session ends. If you're joining us live, we do encourage you to contribute questions in the chat. We will have time for chat at the end of today's session. Today we have David Starr joining us from Cumulus 26 with a session all about Partner Center. And so I will let David introduce himself and take the show from here. And also, if we can get the link up to the Marketplace community on the screen, for those of you who haven't visited the community yet, definitely check us out. And again, all of our webinars and other on-demand resources are available in the community. So with that being said, I will go ahead and pass it to David. Thanks, David, for joining us, and let's get started.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate that. As Justin said, and as the screen says, my name is David Starr. I'm co-founder of Cumulus 26, and our goal there is to accelerate your marketplace journey with Microsoft, no matter what kind of offer type you're working with. So let's jump into our topic here. You may be tempted to think this might be a little bit dry of a topic, this idea of structuring your Partner Center accounts, but I can assure you nothing could be farther from the truth. This is what everybody's talking about at the coffee machine when you're done today with this presentation. Everybody will be there just talking about this issue, and you're going to be fully charged to participate. So seriously, this is an important set of information, especially for those new to Partner Center with questions about account setup. If we don't get it right, the consequences can be somewhat severe, and that'll potentially delay your ability to get published into the marketplace with your new transactionable offer. You don't want to delay that. So I will tell you a little bit of a story. I used to be on the marketplace fast track team at Microsoft, where we worked with partners like yourselves, setting up their transactable accounts. Now, when working with a partner in that previous role, they had misconfigured their initial setup for part of their account. And to get it up and running through support took no less than 2 weeks. And it was a back and forth conversation, of course. It wasn't all on support, but it was a back and forth conversation that took a little over 2 weeks. And this really delayed the partner from getting their offer transactable in marketplace. And we don't want that to happen for you. So with that, today is all about saving you these headaches and ensuring that you're going to be able to publish your offer quickly, and to do so with the future in mind. So with that, let's jump into the slides and see what we'll be discussing. We're obviously going to talk about a few things, one of which is the individual accounts that you'll need and that you'll set up within Partner Center and in other places. We'll see about that. Also, business entities. How do you represent your business within Partner Center? And then the account structures that flow from that and how they map over to your business. And then all along the way, we're going to be talking about some important identifiers. And that's kind of weird. Why would we talk about ID numbers? Well, it's because anytime you engage with Microsoft, they're probably going to ask you for one of these identifiers. And believe it or not, it can be a little difficult to find and uncover. So that's why I'll mention that along the way. And the last thing I'll say is this conversation isn't going to take us too long to get through, but there is some good information, and you're going to be able to have a great discussion afterward with us. So let's talk first about individual accounts. There are several at play here. you've got your typical Microsoft Work account, right? Now that Microsoft Work or business account may be backed, and probably is, by Azure Entra ID. If it's not backed by Azure Entra ID, by the time you're done setting up your Partner Center account, it will be. And we'll get into that just a tiny bit more. But the salient piece here is that you have a Partner Center account, and each one of these individual accounts has context-specific roles and permissions. So within Azure, my account may be able to do certain things through the Azure portal, through the Azure command line, if I happen to be a developer. But in Partner Center, it may look very different. One thing I want to especially call out is that if you are someone who maybe is not a technologist, but you're in charge of your Partner Center instance, well, you are going to have an Azure Entra ID account, but that does not mean that you are then able to go create resources like virtual machines or databases or things like this. In order to do that, you need an Azure subscription. And this is what your IT folks use to work within Azure and do those things like creating those resources. So you don't need to be worried if you're a business user that you have an Azure account, because that does not, again, it does not mean that you're going to be able to incur costs within Azure. It just simply means that you have an account there. Okay, now under Partner Center, when we create that Partner Center account that looks at that Azure Entra ID account, there are different types of accounts that we can be classified as within Partner Center, the first of which is a global admin, which means, of course, you can do anything, right? Global admin. So you can do anything within Partner Center. And again, that could be an account that is mapped over to Azure, where you can effectively do very little to nothing in Azure, but you're a global admin in Partner Center, no problem. Okay, next there are several account types or role types, if you will, and one of those is business profile admin. So exactly what it says. You would have permissions to go in and set up the profile of the business within Partner Center, but maybe nothing else. You couldn't publish an offer, do something like that. One of the most, I guess, one of the account types with the most permissions other than global admin is developer. And developer gives you the ability, if you have that account type, to see the entire publication pipeline of a new offer from beginning to end. So that does not give you the ability to do things like mess around with tax and payment profiles, to mess around with reporting, things like this that may not be appropriate for a developer. All right, so it turns out at the very top of all of this, there are two account types for your business, and those are a partner global account and a partner location account. And you'll hear me refer to these, and they will be referenced in the deck here as PGA and PLA. And what do these look like when we set them up? Well, we have our partner global account, and within that, or I should say, as a child of that, we can have one or more PLAs or partner location accounts. So what that might look like in practice is that for us at Cumulus 26, we have our global headquarters. And under there, we might have our subsidiary for the UK as one PLA, partner location account, and our Japanese subsidiary is another partner location account. Okay. Now, each of these partner global accounts, when you set them up, you register them as your parent company with a legal business address, right? And you get the contact information of the person who is the primary on all of your Partner Center accounts. And this would be, somebody back at HQ, if you will. Now here, when we set up a PLA, partner location account, we again provide a company location because in most cases, it is going to be a different location with its own address. And it turns out that the partner center account admins, those admin roles that we were talking about just a moment ago, are the ones that can add new PLAs to the account. And it's through these PLAs where we actually publish our transactable software offers. So let's dive deeper into how that works, starting with the identifiers for each one of these entities we've already defined. So for a partner global account, when you set up a new partner global account, you get an automatically generated ID, looks something like that. For each PLA you set up, again, automatically generated ID, looks something like this. Now, why am I even drawing attention to this? It's because, as you know, maybe by using Partner Center already, there are certain types of entities that you can create that have IDs that you can specify yourself. So when you're creating, say, an offer or a plan within Partner Center, you get to give it its own identifier. Well, we don't get to do that here. They're generated for us. And to find them later when to later find them when we're dealing with a support scenario or something like that, this is where we go. We go to Partner Center settings, identifiers, Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, and you'll be able to find those identifiers for both your global and location accounts. So we do have a question, and I'll take just a moment here to read that. Do partner location accounts have their own global admins, or is there a location admin role? Great question. And it turns out that both of those things are true as I'm reading the question, in that you do have a global account admin who can add those PLAs underneath it and can administer the PLAs themselves. And that's very important because one of the things we always want to make sure of is that there are at least two of those people in your organization, if not more, right? It's extremely important not to lose your partner global account admin access. So we want to make sure that there are at least two people there with those. Now, are there then partner location account admins? There are, and you can set those as a separate role. The PGA admin can set those as a separate role to each specific PLA. Okay, and again, you'd probably want multiple PLA admins as well for that same reason, although it's a little bit less risky than losing your partner global account admin. Okay, so let's jump back and see what you get when you very first go in and set up your Partner Center account. You get something that looks sort of like this. You get your PGA with its identifier. You get a PLA with its identifier. But a lot of people will ask, okay, is this where we stop? Well, I strongly advise that you create one more PLA, right? A partner location account that represents your local seller region, even if you only have one seller region. Now, in this case, I have a PLA for our US branch. Okay, truth be told, it's our only branch, but this is a single PLA that I can divide into or that I can expand on over time as my company grows. And with a single PLA, like my US subsidiary, it's worthy of note, I can sell into multiple markets. So when I say we need multiple partner location accounts, just because I'm selling a product that I'm going to offer for sale in the European Union or in Canada or in Asia, that does not mean I need multiple PLAs, okay? PLAs represent locations of my business. I can still sell my product into multiple markets, all right? We'll come back to this just a little bit in a few moments. Now, here we see a view of signing up for the Microsoft Commercial Marketplace program. And when we do this, a publisher account is created for us. That's what we got out of the box just a few moments ago. And when you create the publisher account, you get that publisher ID, but as we mentioned in this case, you get to specify a unique identifier yourself. So another ID is generated alongside this one, though, called a seller ID. This one's automatically assigned. All right, why am I harping on these IDs? Well, I can almost guarantee that if you file a support ticket to the through Partner Center, they're going to, at some point along the way, ask you for your seller ID. And as we saw, right, these are attached to publisher accounts, and you can have more than one of them. And so that's why it's important to know what your seller ID is and how to get to it. Now, what does the seller ID represent, or a publisher? I'm sorry, what does a publisher represent? It could represent a department. It could represent a line of products. Maybe you have maybe 3 or 4 different product lines with different SKUs within them, and maybe that's how you want to set up your publisher account delineation. Could be a number of things. When you create the publisher account, that seller ID is the one that you really want to take note of. Now, obviously, you can always get back to it, and you can do so here. Partner Center settings, identifiers, publisher, and that's where we go to get to those numbers. Now, why am I not showing them to you in Partner Center? I'll be frank, it's because if I did, you would see all of my identifiers, and I don't want to put those out to the world. So here's the path that you can use to get to those. Okay, great. So starting back from the beginning with a product global and partner global and partner location account, here we've created 2 publisher accounts. This may be because we're selling different product lines. It may be because we have different people involved in each publisher. It could be because each publisher represents a different department within our organization. But regardless, each gets 2 things. 1, a payment profile, and 2, a tax profile. Now, payment, this is obviously your financial information so that Microsoft can pay you when people subscribe to your product. Good stuff. In addition, Microsoft will collect taxes on your behalf in most markets, and they accordingly need your tax profile to do that. One thing I'll note when you're setting these up, your tax and payment profiles, is that the path from start to finish of setting those up is different for different types of organizations. As you can well imagine, there are different tax scenarios. And so every time we set up a new publisher, we're going to set up these profiles, and we may be taken through a unique path to get those tax profiles set up. Okay, so we do have a question here on the side. I'll turn my attention to that for just a moment. Let's see. Prior to joining my current company, Partner Center was set up with our marketplace listings in 3 different instances: US, Canada, and UK. Can I simply run everything through the US instance and collapse the other 2? Are there tax and banking implications? There are tax and banking implications. Let's see what else here is part of that. I currently think I have 3 PGAs. I want a single PGA, several PLAs. How do I change this? Okay, so let's start with the financial implications of having multiple partner location accounts and multiple publishers within them. So those multiple publishers, as we just pointed out, get their own tax and payment profiles, and accordingly, they may look different, right? Particularly if you've got a PLA in Canada and another in the US, as is mentioned in this question. Here's my guess, though. And this is just me guessing. that you really just needed one location account for your US business, US based business, and you needed multiple publisher accounts, maybe for the different markets into which you sell, right? And if you are collecting taxes within Canada, then you would have a tax profile on your publisher that would be Canadian tax setup, and then maybe another for the US. I have the summary question here is, I think I have 3 partner global accounts. I'd be surprised at that because when I come in and I create a new Partner Center account, my company is vetted as an actual company, and it checks, does this company exist? And if the answer to that is yes, then you've got one Partner Global account. If I try and come in again and set up another Partner Center account for that same business entity, it will detect typically that this is a separate business, or this is a business entity for which we already have a Partner Global account, and you may or may not be taken through a process of setting up a partner location account for what you're trying to do. Odds are, in your case, you might actually have a single PGA with several PLAs already. Now, I could be wrong about that. If you want to dive deeper into this, I'm happy to do so one-on-one. At the end of this conversation, I'll put up my email address and contact information, and you're more than welcome to reach out. Okay. Let's jump back in and see what you get kind of out of the box with Partner Center account setup. Now, if you don't take action up front beyond the default settings, this is what you end up with. So what I mean is, I go in and I set up Partner Center, my brand new shiny Partner Center account, and I create my PGA by default. It just does that for me. I create my PLA by default. It just does that for me, and my publisher. So my initial publisher is created, and I think, oh, well, this is fine. This is good enough. And so I'm going to go in and set up my payment and tax profiles against that publisher. Now, again, I advise maybe considering that you would do this with a separate PLA to account for your business's growth structure in the future, and perhaps multiple publishers on that PLA for the same reason, or different reasons. It really depends on how you want to organize your business as to how you set up your publishers. So pardon me for that. Now, this structure that we're looking at does in fact work for some because it's a single region seller. I'm a UK-based company. I'm never going to change that fact. I'm going to be a UK-based company with no subsidiaries ever. And will this work? Well, what I would say is it'll work until it doesn't, right? Until you actually find a reason to have that second PLA. And that means things can start to get a little tangled at that point if you haven't already structured yourself for success, as we discussed a few moments ago. Now, I showed offers here. It turns out that offers are associated to publishers. So for each publisher, you get that seller ID, and then I go in and I say new offer. And when I create a new offer, I get to put in the ID for that. And under each offer, I have plans, right? These may be individual, team, enterprise, different SKUs of your product. Think of it like that. When I have these different plans, for each one, I am permitted to sell into multiple markets. Okay, this is what we were talking about just a few moments ago, that just because I have a PLA and one publisher doesn't mean that I'm restricted globally to where I can sell. Okay. For each plan that you configure on each offer that you create, you can select the regions into which you want to sell that particular plan. So boy, there are just a lot of options all along the way, right? I can have multiple PLAs, multiple publishers, and then those plans under my offers can sell into multiple markets. Well, that's a lot of decision making. But I hope that we've structured things a little bit for you today so that it may not be so confusing. It's really straightforward once you have this nomenclature down. Now, we do have a question here. I'm going to jump over and take a look. Is there a way to change the PLA description so the ones you see in the upper right in the MPC marketplace here? At this moment, we have 2 PLAs with a random number in the name. I would like to change that so it includes the country names. Let's see, the name of the PLA or the identity. Assuming identity, I think you're not gonna be able to change that. The name of the PLA, I'm not quite sure. I would have to go take a look. I am happy to do so. Please, again, if you want to dive a little bit deeper in this, I'll share my contact information in a few minutes. You're more than welcome to reach out. I've never tried to do that, to be honest. I've just never run across the scenario of trying to change my PLA description. I surely you can, but we're talking about Partner Center, so I don't know. We'll see. Let's get back and take just a quick look at where we've been here in our conversation. Obviously, there are different accounts, individual accounts between Microsoft and your Partner Center individual accounts. Also, we learned that business accounts, your business entities and their associated accounts can be global or location based, and they should be, right? This is how you should set things up, is to assume that your company is going to be super successful and you're going to have subsidiaries all over the world. So you're going to have at least that one PJ, and hopefully you decide to go down the route of having a partner location account that's separate from the one that's default created for you. Now, we also learned identifiers are kind of important, right? Because specifically because of support scenarios, and they're going to be assigned for most of the business entities that we talked about here, and you get to assign them yourself for offers and plans. Okay. Now, with that, I would just like to offer a little bit of information about our organization. Here's my contact information, and just mention that what we do is exactly what it says here: accelerate your Azure Marketplace journey. Now, we've been heads down on a little top secret project that we're going to be launching in November. And what is it, you might ask? Well, as you might imagine, it's a software solution from Cumulus 26 that is meant to accelerate your Azure Marketplace journey at a cost that's less than what you're incurring today. We can guarantee it. So that's all I'll say, but stay tuned on LinkedIn. Our LinkedIn profile is right there on the screen. I'd love it if you followed us there. And just know that we'll work with you on any offer type that you might have. And we're committed to giving you the best experience possible on the Microsoft Marketplace. So with that, let's just see if there are other outstanding questions or things for discussion. And it looks like there is one. Oh, Justin, hi.
Hey. So I think you have access to the questions, right, David? Do you see them coming into the chat?
I do.
Okay. Well, you can just read them through if you want, because I think you've answered. And for anybody that's listening live, I know there was a topic David mentioned earlier that he was going to look into with regards to Partner Center. We will try to get the answer for that and then post the answer in the comments to this event in the community. So if you check out the community page later today or tomorrow, we should have the answer for you. And then, yeah, David, let's go on with some of these other questions.
All right, I'm just taking a shot of that question right now so I don't lose it. There we go. Okay, let's see. Someone asks, as a smaller business, how many partner location accounts should I have? Well, you must have one. Again, that one gets created automatically for you. And it's just, I recommend as a function of growth that you have two. You have that one that gets created for you, leave it alone. That's your sort of global headquarters PLA, right? And go create a second one. If you happen to be a US based company, that second one will be, Cumulus 26 US, for example. It's there that I'm going to set up my publisher accounts and then start selling software through those publisher accounts. So that's my recommendation to you, specifically from a point of growth. Okay. Someone else asked, what if someone leaves the company? How many people should have the global admin role versus the business profile admin role? Sure. So it really is the global admin role that's the most important one that we want to think about here. And I don't know how it happened in your organization, but when you first sign up for Partner Center, it's often the case that it's someone within your technology organization that does so, right? Rather than somebody with more of a business focus. I recommend that whoever sets it up definitely has someone from the technology side of the organization be a global administrator of Partner Center. Obviously, this needs to be a trusted individual, but someone with rights across all of Partner Center and who lives on the technology side, because there is that association back to Azure. We want to make sure that that stays clean and intact. But also, it makes sense for someone with more of a business focus, marketing, sales, someone who's in business development, to be able to come in and administer some other users of the system. Maybe they are the ones that are determining who should be our business account manager, for example, or the person who sets up our financial information, right? Maybe it's our CFO in a small business, maybe it's accounting or what have you. So I doubt those types of decisions are going to come from an IT person, right? So what I'm simply suggesting is that we have at least two, hopefully one or two more, and that at least one of those come from the technologist side of your organization, someone who's familiar with Azure. Okay. Question, what is the difference between a tax profile and a payout profile? Well, a tax profile specifies how Microsoft is going to withhold tax during a purchase. So your customer comes in and they're in a specific state, for example, within the United States. They're going to be taxed accordingly. And then your tax setup is going to impact how that tax is applied. The payout profile is, if you break it down to its barest bones, it's your bank account. How does Microsoft pay you? So they need the information of how to distribute your funds after you've got those thousands of subscribers. So that's tax versus payout. Let's see. I'm looking through the list of questions to see if we've missed anything. I don't think we have.
We did just have another question come in, David. Why is my business verification failing?
Well, I don't know what to say about that. I can tell you that there are many paths to business validation and verification, and that's why I don't know what to say about that. One thing that helped me when setting up for Cumulus 26, for example, I had to go through those steps too. And we went and got our EIN number. We're a small business. And we went and got our EIN number and used that to drive the business validation. And so Microsoft's backend system during account setup was able to go check that my EIN was indeed associated with an organization, named what I claimed, and validated that we were a genuine organization. Why is your particular one failing? I'm sorry, I have no way of knowing what path you're going down to validate your business entity. And, I don't know the back end of how they do that anyway. There are going to be, like I said, those different paths, and each one's going to be implemented differently. And Heather added in that there are some common reasons that Microsoft Learn tells us about, which make total sense now that I'm looking at them. Mismatched legal names. So are you putting in the exact legal name of your organization, right? If you, let's say, are an LLC, are you putting in comma LLC, right? Unsupported business names. Maybe you're doing business as opposed to the actual name of your organization. Something like that. And it looks like that may be the last question we have today.
And I'll just add in, David, that last question for the Learn documentation. I would encourage everybody who's watching today or watching later, if you're not familiar with the Partner Center documentation on MS Learn, that documentation is always updated with the latest and most recent information about Partner Center. So this information around common reasons for not having your business verification go through, that can be found in the MS Learn documentation. And, that Learn documentation is always on and available. So definitely check it out for some of these basic questions. And the link to Partner Center is right there on the screen. Or sorry, the Learn documentation for Partner Center. The link, if you are listening today, the link is learn.microsoft.com/partner-center/. So that is the URL for Partner Center documentation on MS Learn. And I do think that is the last question. Again, if you're watching this asynchronously or later today, later this week, definitely feel free to contribute your questions to the Marketplace community discussion board. We shared the link earlier in the session, but if you missed that, the link is aka.ms/community/marketplace. That discussion board is open to anybody that wants to have conversations about Marketplace. And so you won't be able to post questions related to this session on the actual event page after today's session ends. But if you do have other questions, we encourage you to just visit that discussion board, and I will be happy to answer your questions there. So I do think that is the last question we had. David provided some information here around contacting him for follow-up with his email address, david.starr@cumulus26.com. You can also reach out to Cumulus26 at their support address through support@cumulus26.com. And then, of course, you're welcome to follow David and Cumulus26 on LinkedIn. Is on the screen as well. LinkedIn.com/company/Cumulus26. So I think that's a wrap, David. Any other last comments or feedback from you?
The only thing I'd say is that I'm excited to have seen this many folks attend today, because it really will help you in the long run to set things up appropriately within Partner Center and get things off to a great start. So with that, I wish you a good ending, and that means lots of good sales to the Microsoft Marketplace. Good stuff.
All right. Thank you, David. And thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a great day.